Sampling is an art form. Multiple genres incorporate samples, and it's what hip-hop is built on. And legally clearing samples can be a difficult thing. But I'm gonna tell you about a ton of real records that just became available to sample. Dig through some of them with you, explain how this is possible. This is not a sponsored thing, I promise you. And show you where you can go to make your own remix right now. So let's see, we got this whole stack of records here. Let's start with this one. This is Bombalina, a Foxtrot, from the musical play The Wildflower by Paul Whiteman and his orchestra. Here we go. Yeah, now we're talking. Paul Whiteman was known as the King of Jazz, which is somewhat controversial because as a band leader and composer, he leaned more orchestral than towards improvisational jazz. But he's the one who commissioned Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin, and it's Paul Whiteman's orchestra who debuted this piece. I know this may not be the sampleable record you were expecting, but stick with me. This recording, Bombalina, was released in 1923. Now this record is a 78, which means it rotates 78 times per minute, as opposed to what would become more common, the 33 or 45 for singles. Now I have a button on my turntable where I can switch between 33, 45, and 78 rotations per minute, but if we're gonna dig through these 78s, we should probably listen to these records the way they were originally intended to be heard. Gonna lower this. All right, this is what I'm talking about. Just gonna have to install the handle. You see the gearbox underneath here? This thing is crazy. So let me hold the brake here and crank this thing up. Now, I've had this gramophone since I was a kid. I wasn't a kid in the 1920s. It was new when I was a kid. But this angled piece right here has since broken, so I'm gonna have to get creative. I'm just gonna put this right like that. All right, next up, we've got The Frivolous Girl, a tango, ooh, by the International Novelty Orchestra. So, frivolous indeed. All right, how about this one? We got, on the Brunswick label, we got Crybaby Blues, another Foxtrot, Gene Radimich's orchestra. Let me slow that down. You know what? Let me drop the sample. That was actually kind of cool. I'm into it. I don't know. All of these records are completely free to sample, remix, share, and distribute however you want. But how? 2 words. Public domain. You may have heard that Mickey Mouse also just entered the public domain, and he did, sort of. But to understand what I'm talking about, we need to talk about the way copyright works in the United States. Copyright exists to be able to protect artists in the short term and let them profit off their work. But public domain is the finish line, ensuring that other people can freely build on older ideas. This exists across music, literature, movies, and anything copyrightable. I'm not going to get into all the specifics of how long a copyright lasts because it depends on a lot of factors, but suffice it to say the copyright lasts for the life of the author plus a significant number of years. This is how the estate of Marvin Gaye sued Robin Thicke over the groove of Blurred Lines. The US copyright laws when it comes to music are, in my opinion, in need of a refresh. Like, sure, there have been cases where artists have sued over songs that are clear ripoffs of theirs. But in the case of Blurred Lines, that was about the groove of the song. I'm all about protecting your work, but that's like one Italian chef copywriting, I don't know, the idea of combining tomato and basil. Nobody can do that now? Something that fundamental? Because that sets up a dangerous world in which there's a finite amount of creative works because anything you would create is in violation of someone else's groove or chord progression or lyric or melodic line. But that's beside the point. Public domain exists to go, all right, time's up. None of that matters anymore. Go ahead and take whatever you want. Hang on, I want to play another song. I gotta wind it up. All right, next up is Tuck Me to Sleep in My Old Tucky Home. I have high hopes for this one. And this is a great idea. I mean, for instance, the story of Snow White and Cinderella, they're in the public domain. So Disney was free to build on those stories and make their own movies. However, it was also Disney that successfully lobbied twice to change the law so it extends even further. And that's the thing. For music, I mean, the golden age of hip-hop, the reason that music sounds so incredible is because it's right when samplers were progressing and becoming more popular, and right before landmark lawsuits like the Biz Markie case that required samples to be cleared by the copyright holder, but with no standard. So copyright holders could deny clearance or demand up to 100% of the rights in your song. This is how it still works today. So for instance, the song Can I Kick It by A Tribe Called Quest, that contains a sample of a Lou Reed song. And he cleared the sample, but he took 100% of the royalties in publishing. So Tribe has never made any money from that song. But is the Tribe song exactly the same recording as the Lou Reed song? No, it isn't. But by setting up sampling copyright this way, it's either very expensive or impossible to clear samples. This discourages creativity. This is exactly the kind of thing that public domain is trying to solve. Copyright holders should have protection over their work and be able to profit from it, absolutely. But at the same time, we should all be able to build on each other's work to a certain extent. That's beneficial for everyone. What was that other one? Crybaby Blues. I like that one. I'll go back to that one. You seen that video of Q-Tip dropping the needle on the beat, right? Well, check this out. Here we go. Hey! So yes, as of January 1st of this year, 2024, a couple early Disney cartoons, including Steamboat Willie, which is the first appearance of Mickey Mouse, is in the public domain. That's the one getting all the attention, and that's a big deal. But many more works have entered the public domain. Early films, books, and sound recordings. For records, 1923 is the year that just entered public domain. So any recording from 1923 or before is freely available to do anything you want with, including sampling. So, knowing that these records were entering the public domain, I threw it to the producers tier on the Digging the Greats Patreon and let them go to work. So remember the song Frivolous Girl that I just played? Jeffrey Raskin, aka Urban Implosion, took it, and the result is, what's it called? Brandon's Frivolous Girl? Come on, man. Alright, so here's the sample. And here's the song. He used the first 20 seconds of this recording, adding effects, but he said all the melodic sounds, including the piano type sound, that came directly from the sample. Alright, next up is Cheshire the Longest Smile by Seacat Attack. Got those crackles in there, I like that. Ooh. This feels eerie. It's like a Blade Runner type thing. This sample is A Smile Will Go a Long Way by Joe Basile and his Velodrome Orchestra. But this doesn't sound like smiling. Everything in this track is generated directly from the sample, and obviously there's a lot of effects happening. Alright, next up, we got that record Bombalina that we started with by Paul Whiteman. Rexall One took it and flipped it into a new song called Bam. So here is the sample. Here's what he did with it. Feels like Sade. Wait for it. Oh, this part's good. There's the sample. I love it. You know who else loves this? That's right, Public Domain Mickey. Now, I know you might be thinking, that's cool and all, but where can I even get these records? Plus, do I have to have an old gramophone to play it? And this is the most exciting part. No, you can pull these recordings directly from the Library of Congress. Or in the case of Citizen DJ, you can easily browse public domain samples and remix it directly in your browser. You can even select between different drum machines and download the samples directly. I swear this is not an ad, I just think this is really cool. Even if you don't end up creating the next hit song using public domain samples, it's worth messing around with for the inspiration alone. You can and should get inspired from anything you like and make your own version of it. But with public domain, you can play with the work directly. Public domain exists for creativity, to pass the ball and keep the game going. Go make the music you want to make. Go write what you want to write. Start with the tomato and the basil and then keep going. Add a little inspiration from a groove you like. Just, you know, probably not Marvin Gaye or whatever. Mix in a sample from the king of jazz, or even cut in a cartoon mouse. We need more creativity in the world, and public domain is a tool for exactly that. So whatever your creative thing is, go do it. I don't know, I might have to make this part of my live stream setup. This is like one gramophone, one turntable. It's kind of cool.